A school bus full of kids takes an unexpected detour. And now for my Dark Matters collection, I present to you Substitute Driver. It was a beautiful Friday morning in late May. Will Walker and his younger sister Annie stepped back as their school bus pulled up to the end of their long red clay driveway. The lights flashed and the stop sign unfolded. There wasn't a vehicle in sight to heed the warning on their quiet country road. When the door of their school bus opened, Will and Annie Walker froze. "Come on in, kiddies, and find your seats," said the clown sitting behind the wheel. Will spoke up. "You're not Mrs. Sanchez. Where is she?" "She couldn't make it today. I'm the substitute driver." "You're a clown. We're not supposed to get in unless Mrs. Sanchez is driving," said Annie. "You have something against clowns, little girl?" She looked down and slowly shook her head. "You know, you should always look a clown in the eyes when answering. Now try again, Annie, and use your words." No, I like clowns." "Hey, take it easy on her. She's only 8, said her brother. "Take it easy? Really, Willie?" "I'll take it easy when I'm good and ready," barked the clown. "My name's Will, not Willie. What's your name?" "You're pretty spunky for a 7th grader, kid. I have no time for difficult children. But since you asked, my name's Carnage. Carnage the clown." "Carnage? That's a funny name for a clown," said Will. "Funny? Now why would you want to insult me, Willie? Didn't your mother ever teach you never to make fun of clowns?" "I told you it's Will." "On your knees, Mr. Walker. I want an apology, and I want it now, and make it a good one." The clown grinned, showing 2 rows of crooked yellow teeth. Saliva foamed at the corners of his open mouth. Will recoiled at the sight and bent his knee to the ground. "I'm sorry. I'll never do that again." That the best word you got, Willie? Last chance for a proper apology, or else." I'm sorry, Carnage. I'll never make fun of your name again. I promise," Will said, hoping to calm him down. "That's more like it. You can call me Carney for short if that helps. Now get up and climb on in. This is my last stop and I'm running late." Will hugged his little sister as they stood frozen in fear. "Get in now, or I'm going to take it out on all your buddies. I have no time for difficult kids." "Get in, Will," yelled his best friend Zeke. "He's not kidding." "Run," yelled Luke, a 6th grader from the back of the bus. "He's just bluffing." Carney walked down the aisle with a roll of duct tape in his white-gloved hand. "Bluffing? Didn't your mother ever teach you that clowns don't bluff?" When he finished with Luke, the clown seethed. "Who's next? Which one of you kiddies wants the treatment? And I won't be using tape this time." The bus full of children all shook their heads in unison. Most were visibly shaken. A few accidentally let go of their balloons. Personalized helium balloons, each with a photograph of their face with their name and grade printed on the mylar. "I told you Muppets to hang on tight to your balloons. In your left hand, like I said. Now!" he bellowed from the back of the bus. Carney sat back in the driver's seat, revved the engine, and glared at the Walker children. "Now let's try again. Climb on up and take your assigned seats. Cell phones in the basket." "Assigned seats?" asked Annie. "Mrs. Sanchez lets us sit with our friends, and she never holds our phones." "Do I look like Mrs. Sanchez to you, girlie? Now get in, both of you. Phones in the basket, find your balloons, and sit down. And hold them tight in your left hand, real tight." Carnage looked at his passengers in the mirror. "Remember, kiddies, my rules. Look straight ahead and no talking unless I say so. Anyone gives me a problem, and you're gonna get the treatment. And I won't be using tape." As the bus slowly pulled away, Will scrunched his brow and whispered across the aisle to his best friend. "Zeke, look at the security camera. It's trashed. Carnage the Clown stomped on the brake and stood up. Hey, no whispering back there. I told you, brats. No talking. I'll be watching extra careful now. Try that again, and that camera won't be the only thing I trash. It was now clear to every kid on the bus that they were not headed to school. Not even Will dared to ask Carney. After what seemed like forever, the school bus turned down a rutted red clay road. It stopped at the edge of a clearing. Lights flashing. Stop sign unfolded. All right, kiddies, we're here. One row at a time. Single file. No talking and bring your balloons. Don't even think about those phones. Form a line on the grass and then follow me. Carnage the Clown slowly marched them along a well-worn path. Their mylar helium balloons wavered in the breeze as the line of children approached a large circus tent. The white canvas stretched taut, glowed in the morning sunlight. The spectators began to file into the big top. They each took a few balloons from Carney on their way to the grandstand. The kids sat across from them on the edge of the circus ring. They stared at their audience, mouths agape. Some shook as tears filled their eyes. Welcome to the greatest show on earth, boasted Carnage the Clown. For nearly 300 years, clowns have been entertaining children of all ages. Today is sure to be an unforgettable performance for all the ages. As they say, kiddies, what goes around comes around. Now, let the show begin. When he tipped his top hat, the clowns in the grandstand went wild, clapping, cheering, hooting, and howling. Listen up, kids. Circus rules require you to wait silently until it's your turn to perform. Disruptions will not be tolerated. And then he cracked his whip. Perform? One of the children blurted. 2 angry cracks of the whip this time. Time to fess up. Now which one of you punks said that? The children sat stone cold silent. Very bad choice, kiddies. I'm giving you all the treatment, one by one until someone owns up. Luke raised his hand sheepishly. It was me, Carney. I'm sorry. Sorry? Yes, you are, Luke. You're a sorry excuse for a young man. That's the second time you've been uncooperative. It'd behoove you to show us some respect. Now step right up in the center ring. Hands at your side. Close your eyes and don't move a muscle. When the whip cracked this time, the children gasped. Except Luke. He let out a scream as a bloody piece of his left ear fell to the ground. The clowns in the grandstand laughed like hyenas. Yeah, Carney, one shouted. Consider that a lesson learned, Luke. Now stay right where you are. It's your turn to perform. Carney faced the grandstand. Well, who's got the Miller kid? Krusty the Clown stood up, holding 6th grader Luke Miller's balloon. Let's see, Luke. How about you do some juggling? But I don't... Silence, Luke. We need a can-do attitude here at the greatest show on earth. It's the big top for crying out loud. Now, let's see you juggle. And Carney placed 4 balls on the ground in front of him. The clowns in the grandstand booed mercilessly as Luke failed with every try to keep the balls in the air. Stop, shouted Carney. You're a sorry excuse for a juggler too, little man. What say ye, clowns? And 16 white-gloved hands gave Luke the thumbs down. Take him to the pit, instructed Carney. Twister and Mondo grabbed Luke by the arms and escorted him through the exit flap. Poor little Annie Walker was next. She couldn't even stand on stilts, much less walk on them. Watching her being dragged kicking and screaming out to the pit was a gut punch for her big brother. But it made Will more determined than ever to find a way out of the mess they were in. Like all farm kids, he had a knack for figuring things out. He just prayed that an idea would come through in time. Solo acts, duos, and trios followed as clowns called out the names of the children on their balloons. They laughed and squealed with delight as they assigned performance roles. Balancing acts, magic tricks, unicycling, storytelling, jokes, miming, balloon animals, and more. And every one of them failed miserably. White glove thumbs down gestures were accompanied by a chorus of boos, jeers, and hisses, while Twister and Mondo did the dirty work. "And then there was one," announced Carney. Buttons the clown held the last balloon. "Will Walker, step on up, young man. You're pretty big for a 7th grader. Kind of plucky, too. Looks like you need a special challenge." Will stood in the center ring and faced the grandstand, using a blank stare to hide his intentions. "The greatest show on earth presents our final act," boomed Buttons. "Will Walker will now juggle 4 balls while unicycling. Blindfolded, of course." The clowns celebrated Will's failures with a thunderous round of bleacher stomping. His balloon rose up, joining the others trapped at the top of the circus tent. And before he knew it, Twister and Mondo had him firmly in tow. The pit was a rectangular hole, at least 8 feet deep. It was shaped like the resting place for a gigantic coffin, and it held a busload of terrified schoolchildren. What happens next?" asked Will. Mondo grunted. "Shut up, kid." "We might as well let him know," said Twister, as he nodded to the large dump truck overflowing with dirt. "Can't you give us a second chance?" Will pleaded, "and maybe some time to practice?" "No second chances at the greatest show on earth, little man. But we're going to give you pipsqueaks a little time to commiserate while we party. Enjoy your last few rays of sunshine, Willie boy." Twister had his ankles and Mondo grabbed his wrists. The 2 clowns cackled with glee as they flung Will Walker into the center of the pit. Once down in the hole, he was able to size things up. He found Zeke in the crowd and filled him in on his plan. "Hope you're feeling lucky, Will. Sounds like we're going to need it." "A lot more luck than you had on that tightrope, Zeke," he chuckled. "Fingers crossed. Let's roll." The 2 boys put on their game faces and went to work. Inside the circus tent, the clowns celebrated. Ice cream, cotton candy, hot dogs, and beer. Lots of ice-cold beer. They talked and laughed while they ate and drank. Some walked on stilts, others mimed, and a few did magic tricks. Blindfold in place, Buttons unicycled around the ring, keeping 4 balls in the air. "Willie, Willie, Willie," they all chanted. Carney connected a colorful bunch of bent and twisted balloons. "Hey, looky here, guys. Gather round and take a wild guess. Winner gets to dump the dirt." "Monkey," guessed Bingo. "No tail. Must be an ape," shouted Jigsaw. "Alien. Gotta be an alien," insisted Pennywise. "Mummy, mummy," yelled Jolly Bean. Ooh, I know," said Bonkers. "It's an astronaut." "Nice try, boys," shouted Carney. "Look a little closer. It's Willie Walker." And their laughter drowned out the last sound they would ever hear. Will sat behind the wheel of the dump truck with his best friend riding shotgun. "Like he said, Zeke, what goes around comes around." And then he floored it, tearing through the entrance flap and plowing into the crowd of circus clowns. Stragglers were easy targets, slowed by their big floppy clown shoes. Bones crunched and blood flowed. Screams and moans were silenced as the dump truck finished them off, one by one. And then Will let Zeke do the dumping. The ladders they found made it easy, and one by one the kids climbed out of the pit and onto their school bus. Will proudly took his place as the new substitute driver. On the long ride home, he swore them all to secrecy. "And don't forget, even the walls have ears, so mum's the word," he reminded everyone. "Hey, Luke, what you going to tell your mom about that ear?" someone called out as he got off the bus. A half-hearted shrug was all he could offer. Will saved the best for last as he pulled up to Zeke's house. "You're not taking that bus back home, are you?" "No way, Zeke. Dropping it off at Mrs. Sanchez's house. Her usual spot. We'll walk home from there. Then what? Think I'm going to work on my juggling tomorrow, he laughed. Maybe even help my sister with her new stilts. Annie giggled at the thought of stilt walking around the barnyard. Zeke stepped out of the bus and turned to face the open door. Mum's the word, he said. Then he zipped his lips and threw away the key. Will nodded his approval. Zeke smiled back and flashed him a white-gloved thumbs up. After a tip of his top hat, Will Walker did the same as he slowly pulled away. Thank you for listening.